Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Berkcast. I'm your host, HC, and with me, as always, is Rush.
Hello, I am Rush.
And today we are going to discuss the movie that pretty much started it all, unless you count the books. But yeah, we are talking about the first How to Train Your Dragon. So, Rush, if I remember correctly, you saw How to Train Your Dragon 2 first, before you saw the original.
As far as I can remember, that is what I saw first before I actually went back. I may have seen the first one, I may have seen it in order, but I did not have, obviously, the vibe for the movie that I do now.
You didn't remember it.
Yes.
Okay, so you saw the second one, you liked it, and you decide to go back to the first one. What was your first impression of it going back?
Going back, because, like I said, that second movie was more about getting me interested in the graphics. I looked more at how the styles were as opposed to the themes. Of course, I went back later for the themes, but I'll talk about that in a second. So I went back for the styles, and I noted the darkness of it, like actual physical darkness. It was not as bright. If you look at the second one, a notable scene is when Hiccup and Astrid come back from the Aerith's destroyed base. When they land in the center of the town, you can see the lighting. It's like afternoon. You can notice that. But then when you get into the first movie, you notice it's always cloudy, overcast. Not really any kind of day, except for when the flight scene, when Hiccup's happy. So I kind of got this feeling like, all right, I think the lighting was based off of Hiccup's feelings. Whenever he's not happy or something, it was cloudy and such. When he's finding Toothless the first time, it was foggy, misty, kinda, because he didn't know what it was feeling about. So that's what I thought about movie. That's what I was looking for in the first movie when I first watched it.
Yeah, there's another small detail that all the other dragons like Stormfly, Mitla, all of those, in the first movies, their colors are a bit darker because the dragons are supposed to be menacing.
Yeah.
And in the second movie, they brought it up a little. So
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a good catch.
I get what you're saying. So yeah, but for what you said, the beginning of the second movie is a lot more lighthearted with all the dragon racing and stuff, and then you come back to this, and the movie pretty much starts with the fight scene.
Yeah, exactly. So and it starts at night too, for that matter. The second movie starts in the morning, and it ends.
True.
Second movie ends also in morning. Because you can kind of say they were flying overnight. I'll talk about this more in the when we do the second movie, but I kind of like to think about the timelines of the first and second movie. How the first movie's over a couple of weeks, maybe months, and then the first movie is over a couple of weeks, a couple months. The second movie is in the span of 3 days, and it feels like they never got any sleep in there. Kind of like a small oversight.
Maybe even a day.
Yeah, maybe even a day. But that's besides the point. So I actually want to bring up what I was looking for the second time, just to bring up.
Before that, let's think about that. If How to Train Your Dragon 2 is taking place over a day, that Hiccup probably didn't think the day would go on like this when he woke up in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Because he discovers that I wake up, the sun is shining. I bet he didn't realize he's going to lose his father and become the chief by the end of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Those dark turns of life.
Yep. You never expect you're going to lose somebody at the beginning of a day. But so this is more of a fan service to those who actually like to read into movies. Another thing that I looked for in the movies, because when I started watching this was around the time I was in a class called American Studies, which was basically a history and English class, but we also did a lot of reading into things such as books, movies, and so when I actually started watching the first movie, I was doing basically all this stuff that I was taught to do, and I still do it now. Sometimes it ruins movies for me because it's like,
I know what you're talking about. As a film major, some movies are just destroyed.
Yeah, like if you didn't watch it with that mindset, it's like, oh, it's a good brainless, just popcorn flick. But then when you look into it, it's like, what is this movie even? But so the first movie, one thing that I extremely like one of like the best things I think about this movie stylistically is the moments they focus on the dialogue alone. It is
Yes.
just the characters talking and the background noise, no music whatsoever. Notable moments are Hiccup and Astrid talking on a cliff, Stoic and Hiccup talking in their house, just with the fire roaring, and then kind of a not really dialogue moment, but a scenic moment is when Hiccup first finds the cove and he zooms around. You just see the set and you're listening to the everything around you. I thought those were beautiful moments, and they're also animated beautifully as well. But just the fact
Agreed.
that
Agreed.
they took the time to realize that we actually need to focus on the dialogue and the characters, what they're feeling. And I think the best of these moments that just culminates everything together is actually the Hiccup and Stoic, because you can focus on Stoic's face and you can hear in his voice, I want you to do this, you're gonna have to do this, and then you also get Hiccup's lighthearted side. It's like, is any of this even getting to you? This conversation is feeling very one-sided, and so
Yeah.
it's just
I love that line.
yeah. That one, I love that line every time too, and so I think that's just stylistically one of the best parts of the movie. Obviously the whole movie is great, but when you're talking about looking into it as in terms of just aesthetics, just how they focus on the characters, I think that's one of the better parts of the movie that it does that.
Indeed. Yeah, and okay, so next part. So now you come off from the second movie, and in this one, you see how Hiccup and Toothless met. And that's something I looked into when I rewatched the first movie after the second one, is that for you when you were introduced to these characters, they were already together. They are already best friends and everything. So what was it like to see how it started, how they met, how they built it?
It was definitely interesting to see how it started. I definitely liked how, because like you said, coming straight off from the second movie, it was still in my mind. This is like, okay, I'm getting into this fandom. I need to remember what's happened. So going straight into that first movie, I immediately noticed how they built the friendship, and that it was spot on in the second movie, right where they left off, basically. How Toothless would always be there for Hiccup, which I will mention something that I thought was incredible later. But they basically show that at the end of the first movie that Toothless will always be there for Hiccup, and then in the second movie, they reiterate that, and they show that they're still best friends. They're still joking around. Like beginning of the second movie, Toothless dangles Hiccup off a cliff and laughs at him, and because they're just playing
Yeah.
around, and that's exactly what I expected after the. If I had watched the first movie first, first second is gonna get all confusing dialogue wise, but
Yeah.
if I had watched the first movie first, then I probably would have said, yeah, these guys are gonna be like best friends. They're gonna be buddy buddy, and they're gonna have the best time together and everything. So seeing how it started, definitely reinforced that idea that this is how best friendships begin. It was kind of like a misunderstanding at first, and they decided they needed each other, and it just goes on from there.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that when they first meet, Hiccup wants to kill Toothless, and then he realizes he can do that, and
Mhm.
Toothless sort of goes through the same process. He has Hiccup pinned down, and then he decides, you know what? No, I'll just roar at him. I'll warn him, don't come near me again, and
Yeah.
yeah. So that's also interesting to look into after you see the second movie. You think, so they didn't start off on the right foot, obviously, because Vikings fought dragons and everything. So
Yeah.
I just found it interesting to look into.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting point because, like you said, they're taught to fight dragons, and this is definitely the inner struggle of Hiccup in the first movie because the second movie is all about discovery. Who am I? Which we'll talk about in the later cast, but the first movie is about be who you are on the inside. Everybody, Hiccup was just saying, there's several points in the movie where they basically tell you the theme, but very in a way that's extremely relative to the movie. The very first scene is Stoic criticizing Hiccup after the dragon raid. Why can't you do the simplest? Why can't you follow the simplest orders? And it's like, well,
Yes.
I can't stop myself. It's a Viking. It's who I am. And then Stoic says, "Oh, if you're many things, but a Viking is not one of them, or a dragon killer is not one of them."
Dragon Killer is not one.
Yeah,
Of them.
and so that basically kind of tells right there. Oh, Hiccup's not really on the inside. He's not really a dragon killer. And then you get to Gobber saying it's not what you look like. It's what inside of you.
It's what on the inside they doesn't
Yeah.
stand.
And so that's another
But
one. And then
something to credit this movie is that how many times have we seen the loser cliche that everybody hates? And
yeah,
it starts off like that, but you can tell why. You can tell that there's a reason why Hiccup gets neglected. Because he screws up, but these screws up are huge. People lose their homes, people might lose their lives, their food supply.
Yeah.
So you can kind of understand that this is how the Vikings were raised.
and you get the idea that it's that they have a reason to think he's a loser, not like a standard high school movie where they don't really give any background to why the guy's a loser or anything. So,
yeah, someone once asked me how To Train Your Dragon will be as a high school movie, and I said, well, we won't be able to understand why the rest hate Hiccup, because he will just be the nerd. That's it. No reason.
yeah,
And Astrid will be like the extremely hot girl, and that's another thing that for as much as you can say it about a cartoon character, Astrid is not really designed to be attractive, let's say, in the first movie, which is also interesting because
I think the idea was that it was like a teen crush at the beginning.
no, I'm talking about in terms of design, because other movies I think will try to over-sexify her, but if you look at her compared to other, like, let's say, Disney princesses or something, she
Who are
looks
15.
pretty tame.
I think they were
Not-
definitely grounded
not
in the
tame,
style of the
but-
characters.
Yes. She's a bit rougher in the hairstyle and the face and everything.
Yeah.
Again, it's small things, but these small things make the movie a bit different from the rest. Even though the movie itself is a big cliche, I don't care because it gives me new things to look into, new things to appreciate. So, and that's probably the charm of this movie.
Yeah.
And the entire franchise.
Yeah, that's just everything that they do with their characters, their models, and I say models because I do partial animation, or I handle animated, or I handle graphic stuff. So
Yes,
just the way they
it's a
set them
model.
up, they definitely emphasize, even though one thing that I thought was kind of weird is that even though Tough Nut, like he's just as skinny as Hiccup, maybe a little bit more, has more body weight, but he's just taller, and that's kind of what I thought was interesting. But obviously he has the muscles behind it to not be made fun of, I guess I would say. But that's just another thing that you can think about. It's like, oh, they're not really too different, but their whole lifestyle is different.
Yeah, so another question for you, because coming up from 2 to the original, is that when you are first introduced to Hiccup and Toothless in the second movie, they are flying together and you see they have already perfected it. They're like masters by now. 5 years later, they know their stuff. So, and then you go back to this movie where you see how Hiccup started to develop it. What was that like? Because that's one of my favorite moments to see, when you see the evolution of the tail fin.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because, like I said, I deal with graphics and stuff, but I'm also I'm an engineer at heart and mind, body, soul, everything you can say about being an engineer. And so seeing him actually draw up the plans and make it, that was actually a really interesting part for me. Other people just say, okay, get it over with. It was a small part of the montage, granted. Although the adjustments to it were there. But the very first flight, when he's holding it with his hand open, and he's like, yes, I did it, and Toothless flipped him off. I thought that was...
Whoa, I didn't know dragons can flip humans off. That would be...
I guess I should have said flicked. Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon, the R-rated edition.
Yeah. the uncensored DreamWorks version, the way they want to make it.
With all the pop culture references.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was pretty interesting because getting to Ariel's like I'm always I'm a computer engineer, computer scientist, but secondary to that, I've always loved aerospace and aeronautics, which has to deal with flying. It's more of the space part of it, but I've also liked the flying part of it. So seeing him build the tail, and I like understood that part where it's like, hey, you need the tail to fly. Although a lot of dragons don't actually have tail flaps. That's a small note there. But it's just needing the tail in the Night Fury the Night Fury is designed to look like a jet fighter. So having that tail part is definitely, which is why he's so fast, along with the sleek design. But just when he's building the tail and then using it, that was just something I found is really interesting. And then going on to the actual final flight scene, I'm just going to skip the middle stuff because that's just montage, him discovering all the tricks of the dragons. So when he's doing the final, the test flight,
my favorite scene personally,
test flight, I thought it was really, really cool because not only does that just show the aeronautics and everything, but it also shows the just the flying. Like, I think one of the cool... I said this earlier, maybe last stream, but when they do the dive bomb on the Red Death, they do another small sort of dive bomb right here when he does, like, it starts off with them doing a large turn and then they dive down to go under the sea stacks. I thought that was really cool too. And
beautiful shot. I love it.
Yeah, and then I actually kind of had a feeling something would go wrong because seeing him use those, have the cheat sheet, I'm like, you can't do a cheat sheet in the middle of a battle, right? Yeah. And obviously, what can go wrong?
Actually, one of the parts I really like about the test flight scene is when, after they fall and Hiccup manages to hold on to Toothless and they break for a bit, and then he just decides, screw that, and he throws the chip sheet away, and he just lets his instincts take control, and they manage. They get past that.
Yeah, see, that's actually one thing I want to point out about that scene, about that part specifically too, is another thing looking into movies. I look at the small, tiny things that the animators throw in there, like say, before I get into this part, like when the teens are chastising Hiccup when Gobber's taking him back, like when Gobber throws Toughnut down, you can see Snotlout make a face and like shake his head like he's teasing at him. That's just like a tiny thing that animators will throw in there, and that adds so much to a character. One thing that I like that Hiccup, what he could do is he could just let it go, but he actually makes the motion of throwing it back, even though he didn't need to.
Yeah.
They add that motion of him throwing back, like, okay, I can't use this anyway. So that was one thing that I really enjoyed about that part too.
Actually, one thing you said about the small details, they say left-handed people are considered smarter than...
As a left-handed person, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, but and then you look at Hiccup, he's left-handed, and in animation it's something to point out because you have control over it. So
yeah, exactly.
The fact that they kept him left-handed, it hints at his brilliance eventually, and his uniqueness.
Yeah, that actually is another interesting. It does hint at his uniqueness because they don't really show anybody else writing, but granted they use their weapons with their right hands. Astrid throws her axe with the right hand. Stoic, right-handed with his sword when he's drawing out. I remember Gobber has no choice because he has, a hook for his hand. But so
even if he was left-handed, not much you can do about it.
exactly. But that is a good point to bring in actually.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to point out, a lot of people think that the romance between Hiccup and Astrid, a lot of people think she fell in love with Toothless, not necessarily Hiccup. And to be honest, I kinda see where they're going with it, but I don't think the romance was rushed or anything. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
some people think it was forced, which I honestly, you got to just look at it from a perspective of, my whole world gets turned upside down, and this guy who we've been messing with for so long actually figured out something, and also the flight. I think girls like
Yeah.
when you take it on romantic flights, right?
If Aladdin told me something, it's
Yeah.
that.
So,
And
yeah,
and
I don't think it's
also,
forced.
all things considered, this movie is not about the romance between Hiccup and Astrid. It's about the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, and
Hmm.
about Hiccup in general. So I understand. I understand why it's not as touched upon, but I can
Yeah, it
still
shouldn't
buy
be.
it.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't have been the main focus, and it wasn't. And I could definitely buy it too because not only does uh they actually, I think they show the part of Hiccup that Astrid likes when Astrid's like, "Let's go tell your dad," and he's like, "No." You can see the determination in his face, and I think that's something that she probably would respect. Just going off what her
Yeah,
character, what I've seen from her character, and
yeah,
then in the
because
second
up
movie,
until this point, Hiccup was the nerdy guy, and then he just gives her this serious look that yes, I'm going to protect my pet dragon, if you
actually
don't
his
mind.
friend, not his pet dragon. Remember what Astrid said.
Yeah, but no, because if she said all this because you want to protect your pet dragon or something like that.
Yeah, she did, but I'm pretty sure that he would consider him as his friend at that point.
Yeah,
Um, but and so just kind of going off of Astrid's personality, what I'm reading from this, obviously, this is gonna be completely wrong, because I'm reading into the movie at this point. But I'm just thinking that Astrid, being the warrior type, had never really felt any emotions other than okay, I got to be serious and I got to be have bravery, courage. No time for being scared or anything. And then obviously Toothless scares the crap out of her when they're
yeah.
both in the joking fight and stuff. But then like
Well, all things considered,
yeah,
when a dragon nobody has ever seen before on your island attacks you, yeah.
yeah,
And the only tip for him in the book is hide and pray doesn't find you. I would be
yeah,
pretty scared too.
that's true. And so and then yeah, so she finally has, she's like, oh, I don't have to be this hardened warrior anymore. Well, what's the first thing I can do? And it's like, oh, this guy right here, he's nice, he's showed me a whole new world, and so why not? And that's kind of why I think that in the second movie she acts like she does. She's so joking, she's so loose, she's like, just so relaxed basically because
No, I think
she
actually
hasn't had to keep
the
fighting.
the TV show will get to it in future episodes and everything, but I think the TV show also sort of transforms her from a warrior to a bit more of a chill person, if you know what
Yeah,
I mean.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, we can if we remember, we can touch up that when we do the TV or when we talk about the TV show parts. But
Actually,
I
we'll probably
completely agree
have
with you.
an episode completely centered on Astrid soon, so maybe
That
we'll
too.
keep it for then.
Yeah. Um, spoiler alert to those listening. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, yeah. So I completely agree with you there. It's basically everything, and I think the second movie is actually just the final transformation, right? Um, so yeah, just seeing how that the romance wasn't forced, it was definitely something that would have been a possibility, I think, and just as a result of everything that's happened, right? And
Yeah,
now, one thing that is kind of funny is that when you're reading, like, if you do read fan fictions, one thing that does happen is that, like, you say,
here and there.
Astrid would get jealous because all the girls are fawning over Hiccup because he has the Night Fury and stuff, and they want him for the dragon, not him. And like that is actually a valid point that would happen. Go for the hero, not go for the hero status, not the hero. And I don't think that's something
Yeah.
Astrid would do. So that's just kind of an additive right there.
True.
But yeah,
Also,
that's,
but something you say, I've seen a few fan fictions where they try to ship Hiccup with another girl, either from the franchise or not. And
yeah.
but the writer thinks that because of that he or she needs to make Astrid despicable.
Or yeah, the
And
bad guy. It's like you really can't
yes,
do that unless like I don't. I think the movie did enough to Astrid's credit to where you can't really make her a
you
bad guy.
know, but you know what the funny thing is? People can make it believable with 3 words. They broke up. That's it. That's all
That's
you
true.
need.
Yeah. But then you have the second movie disproving them, unless it's a post-second movie fic. But those are pretty rare. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's just all. That's first movie point on
Yeah,
Astrid.
but back to the relationship between Hiccup and Stuart, the scene after they capture Toothless,
Hmm.
after the let's call it a Hiccup's ceremony. Let's
Yeah.
call it like that. The conversation between Hiccup and Stuart. In any other movie, I would have said when Stuart said that you're not my son. In every other movie, I'll be like, yeah, let's see how it will end at the end of it all. It's not going to end like this, but they did the one thing that after he says it, there's this one shot of Stoic going away from the building, and then he like gasps and he walks
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just did that, but then it's for the best, and he keeps going.
Yeah. He shakes his head and puts back his face
Yeah,
on.
wonderful moment, and I just Stoic is the hardest character to make interesting,
Hmm.
but they did it.
Yeah. Definitely something to note there because Stoic, like you said, hardest character to make him interesting. They actually kind of make him. Um, the first at the beginning, the movies are tend to have hero anti-hero versus villain moments, and this movie, one thing that I think is really good about is that they really don't have they always have an ambiguous villain. Like at first it's the dragons, but then that's quickly cut out because I can't remember really the exact timestamp, but I think around 20 minutes in the movie we found that the dragons aren't evil. Because
Yeah.
Hiccup, finds Toothless. So it's like, well, then who's the next villain, right? Is it just Vikings for killing dragons? And then you're like, wait a second. Well, then being controlled. And then it's like, well, wait, is it Stoic that's the villain because he's still not listening, or is it just the Red Death?
Yeah,
And so,
actually, one way to look at it is that How to Train Your Dragon 1 doesn't really have a villain. It just has a last obstacle that Hiccup needs to overcome in order to prove his point.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm just. I guess you can kind of take my opinion as that. But you're right. It is more of not really having villain. It's just more of an
It depends on how
overarching.
you look at it, because many people argue that Stoic is the villain that by the end of the movie is reformed.
Yeah. I think you could just say that to all the Vikings, though, which is another thing. Like I said, Vikings and Stoic are the evil people for killing dragons.
Yes.
But yeah,
Actually,
it's a lot there.
one part I remember when after the final fight and you find out that Hiccup loses his leg. Now you watched the second movie before the first one, so you know this was coming.
Yeah.
But I probably talked about it before, but I just remember the total shock in the audience when that part happened.
Yeah.
Because no other movie really did it, but a few shots later you see Hiccup and Toothless walk through the door, and at first I didn't realize that, but then you realize that Hiccup is missing his left foot, Toothless is missing his left tail fin.
That's so. Remember back when I said I'll talk about a later scene. That is actually
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted to reference. That
Oh,
is one of the. Yeah, I did tell you I was trying to be secret for a reason, but this is actually a good segue.
yeah,
I
great
wanted.
minds think alike.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the parallelism. Most people would be like, "Oh, hi, I see it. That's parallelism," but it's a deep message. It's just like this is I believe this is the part where I was talking about Hiccup doing anything for Toothless and them being together till the end, basically. And I think that
Yes.
moment really just they're not just oh, this is my dragon, I'm his rider, and I'm Reflect, losing my left leg is he lost his left tail fin. This is more I think this is more of a we're blood brothers message style. I lost my leg for you, or I lost my tail fin for you. I lost my leg for you.
Yes. And actually, I think we'll probably talk about it more when we'll discuss Gift of the Night Fury,
Oh yes.
if you know what I mean. But man, I had something to say about it. Oh yeah, when Hiccup is talking to Astrid after Stuik and the other Vikings are leaving to find the nest with Toothless on the boat, and he says, "I looked at him and I saw myself." That's pretty much the movie tells you. Hiccup and Toothless are one of the same, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. That just solidifies at the moment, Hiccup needs to save Toothless, and along with all the other Vikings. You could say Hiccup needed to save the Vikings, but I think it's more Hiccup really needed to save Toothless in the end.
Yes.
But
Or both. Or both. It could be both.
Yeah, it could be. He got the tooth and he's like, well, I guess since I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, that will be an interesting fanfiction. He gets there, he frees Toothless. Okay, fuck you all, bye,
Yeah.
and goes away.
yeah, exactly.
And then he meets Velka and everything.
Copyright 2016. No.
Yeah. You heard it
Yeah.
first in the Berkcast.
Yeah, you heard it first here. So, but that's just like I saw myself in him. That's more of like that's the down below. Like I see you and myself. That's like I see my soul in you. I see myself in you, and then so they're not only connected on the physical level. Losing the left part that controls your body. Left tail, fin, left leg. They're also connected on the soul level, which is another
Yes.
interesting part.
Actually, another thing I want to quickly point out is during the scene where they fight the Red Death or the Green Death, whatever they want to call it, and after Stuik frees Toothless, there's this small moment when Toothless shakes the water off from him,
Yeah.
and then he calls Hiccup to him like,
Yes.
"Let's finish this guy." I love
Yes.
that moment. It's those little things that make you appreciate Toothless
exactly.
as a character, not just a ride for Hiccup.
Yeah, because see, that's actually one of the most important parts of Toothless that most people might probably miss because it's such a quick moment. You might miss it. That thing is because as Toothless's character goes, they show him as a dragon. They really don't show his intelligence other than to the point of like understanding. Hey, this guy can help me fly, and because they kind of make fun of him as a cat for following the shiny
Yes.
light when he does. But then that shows that Toothless understands what needs to be done. That shows, hey, let's go. We got to do this. That like, because you think, oh, we need character development for humans, for all the characters. Well, Toothless is a character too. So them including that.
That's
in
actually
the
another
scene
thing
is
I'll
a
probably
great
let the listeners know now. Toothless is the only dragon character that we're going to devote an entire episode to later on.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one that really evolves, and How to Train Your Dragon 2 really does develop Toothless as a character, not just a means for Hiccup to get from point A to point B.
Yes. I mean, we'll talk about the dragons with their individual writers, but they won't have their own individual episodes.
Yeah, except, like I said, Toothless and everything. Because, So, to pretty much sum it up, the ending of the movie, I like this ending. It's like everything came from full circle. Everything turned out for the best. No loose ends, no nothing. Actually, when they announced that they're making a sequel, I had no idea what they're going to do because
Yeah, you're
it
like,
ended
well,
so
what
perfectly.
could go wrong? Well, they finished everything. They really didn't have anything to end off on. What could they possibly do? And showing them 5 years later, oh, that's great.
Yeah, because when they announce a sequel and a TV show right with it, I said, well, what's the point of the sequel then? Because you can tell other adventures they had with the dragons with the TV show, and then they suddenly announced, oh, the sequel is 5 years later.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's one way to go at it.
Yeah, another thing on that is usually what people don't think about is like at the end of movies, like when everything ends nicely, you're like, well, you have to think, well, it can't stay like that forever, right? So that's why when like if they announce a sequel, you shouldn't really ever be surprised. Like, oh, the movie ended so well, what could possibly go wrong? Everything could go wrong.
Yeah.
So that was just a
If
funny
there's,
thing.
I know it's not theatrical, but I once made a joke with my friend. If there's a Cinderella tree, there could be a sequel to anything.
Yeah. Oh man, if there's a fifth Ice Age, there can be a sequel to any.
Oh, I believe they even confirmed the sixth one. I want to believe it's not true, but
We let's not cringe out our viewers right now, our listeners.
Yeah.
And we'll-
okay. So just to sum it up, anything funny you remember from seeing the movie for the first time? Is there any?
like haha funny moments, or that's kind of weird funny moments. Real quick, let me specify.
It can be each, as long as it happened when you watch the movie, pretty much.
Yeah. Obviously, favorite part of the movie for me is when Hiccup sarcastically says "da da da, we're dead," because that's just sarcasm. That's something that is super relatable to me.
Yeah, but
I'm a sarcastic
allow me
person.
to correct myself for a moment. I meant in real life, like the day you watch the movie, something funny happened because I have a story to share about it.
No, I really don't remember much about the day that I saw the movie, but I love to hear stories about funny things.
Okay, so here's the thing. I saw it. I think it was opening day here, I believe, and I went to see it in 3D. And for some reason, in my theater, before the movie trailers start, before that, there are TV commercials. I don't know why. They just show TV commercials, and because the movie was 3D, they converted the commercials to 3D.
Oh, really?
And in one of them, there's this comedian who's hilarious and everything, but he has this really big nose. And he was advertising this bank, and there was a close-up shot of him with the nose popping out of the screen.
Oh,
So,
that's
so
awesome. Oh,
even
man.
if I didn't like the movie, that alone was worth the price of admission.
Oh man, that is pretty funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, but like I said, I can't really remember too much about. I don't even since I didn't see the movie in theaters. I obviously saw it at my house, so no theater stories for there. I have other interesting theater stories, but there's nothing that has to deal with How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Okay, one more thing for me is that the last movie I saw before it was Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland,
okay.
and I didn't like that one. So every time I walk out of a movie I don't like, and the next one I'm like, please be good, please be good,
Yes.
please be good, please be
Yes.
good, and yeah, it was excellent.
Yeah, I definitely have that same thing. I don't see too many movies often because being in college, kind of busy all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also working now. But when I do go to a movie, I kind of make sure it's good first. Otherwise, I'll be like, it's like even though movies are cheap here because you get student discounts at the place I'm currently at, it's like I still don't want to go and waste time because, like I said, time's a precious thing as a college student. So definitely will not waste my time when the third movie comes out.
Yeah, now as a film student, I must go see Suicide Squad, even though I heard not so many good things.
Those were the critical reviews. I've actually the people that have seen it, like actual people, non-critics, say it's actually
Yeah.
a good movie. And I believe the reasons why the critics weren't liking it is because they want to see a dark tone movie like Dark Knight, right? like, let's say all of Christopher Nolan's Batmans, they want to
Yes.
see something in that tone, but not as, CGI oriented or, destruction oriented as Man of Steel or Batman v Superman.
Yeah, could be.
Like, you basically have to make Dark Knight, but just with a different story. It's like, okay, we can't really do that because those were good
Yeah.
movies, and we kind of want to make our own thing.
Hi,
Another
I'm
reason.
go-
Sorry, let me say this real quick. Another reason why they probably got bad reviews is because they have to juggle a lot of characters with Suicide Squad, and I think if you want to do that, you have to obviously give every one of them a character development. And if the movie did that well, then even if they didn't do it well, like no matter how well they did it, I should say, they'd probably still get less than good reviews because it's like, well, you have so much time for character development, you don't have time for plot, right? So you have to balance it out, and it's really hard to balance it when you have that many characters. So
Could be. I'll personally, I'm going to watch it. Excuse me. The same day this episode will go on. So
right,
next time we meet up for recording, I'll let you know how that was, unless
Yeah.
you see it for yourself. Who knows?
yeah, I might see it for myself while I'm on vacation.
Yeah. Hey, I'm crossing my fingers because I don't want DC to fail.
I do not either. I think it would be really cool to see something like that. I'm kind of excited for Jared Leto's Joker. I've been waiting for a live-action Joker since Heath Ledger, so why not?
Yeah, let's see how that one will turn out with all the tattoos and everything.
Yeah, that's something I
That-
didn't like, but
Hey, but the character seems right.
yes, it does.
Okay, so that's all for this episode of the Berkcast. Yeah, we're talking about How to Train Your Dragon. And yeah, we'll see you next time. See ya,
We will
Rush.
see you next time. I will see you guys in a week. Thank you for listening, everybody, and remember,
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and later.
and be awesome.